NVIDIA shares jumped as much as 30% after reporting huge revenue guidance due to AI demand. Q1 revenue, $7.2 billion, up 19% quarter over quarter, not year over year, quarter over quarter. Revenue beat analyst estimates by more than $600 million. For people who don't know, NVIDIA is working on GPUs as opposed to CPUs, the graphic processing units, that are being leveraged in AI. And there is a massive cycle going on. There's a line out the door to buy these when you see Twitter going into AI, Facebook, Google, and obviously Microsoft. All the cloud infrastructure is moving from CPU to GPU. Yes, Friedberg?
Well, I mean, I was talking with the CEO and CFO of a major data center REIT, and they shared with me that they're seeing more demand in the last couple of months than they've seen in the prior 10 years. Almost all of that data center build-out demand, so they'll build data centers for software companies, for internet companies, is coming from GPU racks. And these GPU racks are much more energy intensive, much more costly. But it's a pretty kind of significant shift underway that businesses that historically didn't even operate their own data centers are now building out their own data centers to have their own training systems, to have their own infrastructure, to be able to run AI applications and tools. So it's a pretty significant shift underway. All of the growth that NVIDIA is projecting and highlighted in this earnings report yesterday is coming from their data center line of products. And it's a pretty significant, I mean, I don't know, people have said they've never seen a beat like this or never seen a guidance update like this of this scale, where I think the street was looking for maybe a $7 billion guide and on revenue for this. And they came out and said they're going to guide to $11 billion next quarter, which is just an insane bump for a 90-day outlook.
I was told from one of their major customers that they had to beg, get on their knees and beg for thousands of GPUs. And like the lobbying effort, he said there's a line around the corner to buy these. And you need only use ChatGPT or any Stable Diffusion, et cetera. And you see how long it takes to do generative AI, to use these products. It's like we're back to dial-up modems act. we're waiting for a computer to give us an answer. When's the last time that happened, that we had to sit there and wait for it to do its job? And I think this is the great renewal for America, another amazing American company. It's only 3 decades old. Its best years, its best decades are in front of it, obviously. This is going to be a massive boon for not only NVIDIA, but for America, or as I say, America.
Yeah, NVIDIA has basically joined the $1 trillion club now in terms of market cap companies. It's really amazing. I mean, I'm kind of kicking myself because this was the easiest buy ever. ChatGPT launched on November 30th. We all saw that immediately ushered in a whole new era in Silicon Valley. There's a ton of VC funding that's poured into AI startups. They all need to train models, and those models need to use GPUs. So we all saw this coming, and yeah, I'm kind of annoyed with myself. I didn't buy
Zach,
NVIDIA.
Let me ask you a question. So you say that you kick yourself. Obviously, the general statement that AI is coming and NVIDIA is going to be a beneficiary, or NVIDIA's products are going to see a boon, makes sense. But when you look at the valuation of the business, they are currently trading at 70 times the next 12 months EBITDA. So how do you think about valuation? Even at $1 trillion market cap, they're trading at 70 times next 12 months EBITDA. This seems like
they're doubling revenue every 6 months, though, dude. They're doubling revenue.
I think the big question here.
How high does it go? Because at $1 trillion, what's the right EBITDA level for a business to be worth $1 trillion? Is it 100
Depends on
billion?
growth.
Right? Is it 100? But I mean, what's the number? And then the question is, if it's 100 billion, how many years does it take them to grow into that? And are you really paying the right price? Or are you paying a premium to get
it's a momentum stock now,
today?
And will be determined if they have competition. So is there competition for this company, Chamath? Do you think there's a competitor that will emerge?
Yeah, I mean, it's important to understand what a GPU is, maybe. So
sure,
Intel had the run of the place for the first 40 years of compute, because it turned out that most of the things that we used it for, Excel, Microsoft Word, a browser, operated well on a CPU, which essentially think about it as like a factory that takes in the first order and then puts it out, first in, first out. And the great thing about GPUs is that it can take multiple streams of work at the same time and work on them at the same time, right? So it's very parallel and it has this level of parallelism that makes it very well suited for AI applications. I think the thing to keep in mind is that it is a byproduct of a GPU that tries to also do other things. And so as a result of that, you're now seeing a lot of companies building their own silicon. And most importantly, all the big tech companies now have some pretty well-evolved efforts underway. So a lot of these companies have figured out how to do custom ASICs that can do this massively parallel processing. And what you're now seeing is chips that are designed against specific models that are optimized for them. The other thing that you're also seeing is that some people are saying, well, you know what? For these massive models, actually, you should just run it all in memory. And so you're having folks that are doing it in massive arrays of FPGAs. That was Microsoft's first attempt at all of this. So what is the point of me telling you this? I think that, again, we talked about this last week. The biggest cheerleaders of this first point of value creation has really been Wall Street and family offices that wanted to front run where the value creation was going to initially go. And they've been right, which is around chips. But there was a tweet, and Nick, I posted it, maybe you can throw it up here, that shows that if you compare this to the mobile internet, there's always this phased approach in terms of value creation where, let's just say, initially in a new market, mobile a decade ago and AI today, the first dollar of profits tends to go to the chip companies. That makes a lot of sense, right? Because they're the ones that are in the bowels of making the elemental capabilities possible. And then you transition that value, and what Friedberg says is people realize, hey, hold on, the profit dollars are not going to accrue there, because again, this beautiful principle of capitalism is that you can only over-earn for a certain amount of time, because then competitors emerge and say, hold on, I want to steal those profit dollars from you and take them for myself. So margins compress, right? So in the end, NVIDIA's gains today will be then spread across NVIDIA. Facebook will have their own chip. Amazon will have their own chip. Google already does. Apple will have their own chip. All the memory companies will be in this space, right? So then the profits get smeared there, multiples compress. Then where does the value grow? To the device companies in the mobile internet? Here, I think we still have to debate what is a device company in the world of AI. But the most important thing I think to remember is that where the real value gets accrued is 5, 6, 7 years later when the software and services companies show up and create a huge moat. And those are the Googles and the Facebooks and the Apples of the world. And so it's a really dynamic moment. I think it's wonderful for NVIDIA. It's an amazing story for Jensen, who's been really at this game for a very long time. By the way, Jensen has a law of his own that is a sort of companion to Moore's law called Huang's law, named after himself, which you can read about, which just talks about the variability of the compute capabilities of GPUs versus CPUs. So if you want to know that, he should get some credit for that. But I think it's great. I think we're in the
And by the way,
one.
Apple is also making their own GPUs. That's what, when you hear the M2, that has GPUs in it. So
Yeah.
you're absolutely correct.
We're in inning one. So we're going to have a few years. We're going to have a few quarters for sure of this hype.
Mm-hmm.
And then the smart money will probably figure out where the next lily pad is. And then they'll go to the next
Beautifully
lily pad.
said. Beautifully said.